Good morning. I'm Melissa Graziosi, and this is the CTN Special Report. I'm here today with Michele Churchman, who works for the state of Delaware. Good morning, Ms. Churchman.
Good morning, Lucia. Thanks for having me.
Can you tell us a little bit about your job and what you do?
Well, it's kind of funny. I'm sort of semi-retired, but I work for the Department of Technology and Information. That's the computer support agency for all of the state agencies, all of state government. So if you're in a state park, if you go get your driver's license, which not quite, but you'll get there, get your driver's license. If you go get some help from social services, all of those organizations are part of state government. And DTI, Department of Technology and Information, we provide the computers and the computer expertise to help people get their jobs done and to help the citizens of Delaware get the things done that they need to do.
So it sounds like your primary concern is letting students know how important it is to be safe on the internet. Is that right?
We have just, well, not just, in the probably the last 8 years or so, we started a program where we come out to schools, like your school. And we have talked to 33,000 fourth graders to date, over 8 years, and talked about the importance of cyber safety.
Would you mind if I asked a few questions about internet safety?
No, please do.
Great. First, you can tell me one or two things about the government that is doing to keep us safe online.
Well, there's lots and lots of things, and a lot of them are kind of behind the scenes. They're not really public. One of the things that we do that I think is really important, in addition to coming out and talking to kids, because you guys, for the most part, know more about computers than most adults do these days. And you grew up with them. You've never known anything without having computers. So a lot of times you're much more tech savvy than adults are. So that's why we want to talk to you, and we learn things from you every day. One of the things we do within state government is every state employee, and that's about 30,000 people, has to take an online internet security training course each year. So just like you're in school and you have to study something, we have to study this course and we have to pass it, and so that we have access to the public, to the state's computers, because we're in charge of protecting a lot of personal data from the citizens of Delaware. We have all of your birth records, we have death certificates, we have all kinds of personal information that it's our obligation to protect.
Wow. What would you say is the most dangerous thing kids do online today?
Well, there's so many choices. It's hard to pick just one. I think one of the things that we talk about over and over again, and it sometimes seems like it's a little tiring, but is kids mistaking people, their online friends, for being real friends. And what I mean by that is you can play games and you can chat and so forth with people online, but unless you really know them, unless you've met them face to face, unless your family's met them, you really don't know who you're talking to online. So that's probably the thing that we see with children that's probably the most difficult, is just understanding that just because somebody seems to be really nice and seems to be in the 5th grade talking to you, they might not be.
A lot of us use programs like Instagram, Snapchat, and Keep. How private are these things we post on there?
Well, that's a really good question, too. And the reality is nothing is private on the internet. And more importantly, nothing ever goes away. So if you post something nasty about another person, or you post an inappropriate picture of yourself, those things will show up forever. They'll never go away. And to think that there's cyberbullying, to think that there's, that things are private on the internet, they are not.
Let's talk about cyberbullying, which seems to be happening more and more often these days. If a kid is bullying another kid, online kid begins. If the bully calls the police, what can happen?
If the kid that's being bullied can call the police, what can happen? Well, there are laws against cyberbullying these days. Delaware has specific laws, as there are federal laws. So yes, in a very strong case, that person could be arrested. In a young person's case, they could be sent to a juvenile correction facility. An adult would certainly probably spend some time in jail. It's a very serious crime, and people used to take it a little bit more lightly. They used to think with kids was just kids teasing kids, and really in a lot of cases it's much more than that. It's the equivalent to having somebody beat you up in the playground. That cyberbullying can be that bad.
That's pretty scary.
Yeah, that's why we try to stress that and sometimes cyberbullying just appears to be gossip, and there's a very fine line between gossiping a little bit and being a bully.
What story do you see as the best example of why kids need to be safe on the internet?
Okay, I'll give you two examples. I'll give you one. One is the fact that occasionally, and there was a case not too long ago in the lower part of the state where a young person was talking to someone online, thought it was another young person, snuck out of the house to meet that person, and ran into a lot of problem. It was like a kidnapping type of thing. Okay. The second thing is for kids being responsible online instead of being safe. There was an example several years ago of a kid in a school in Newark, junior high school, who thought it was funny to be in his library computer session and to type a threat, and he decided to type that threat to say he was going to blow up the White House. Well, some people would say kids are kids, and that was just a joke. Well, the federal government, when there's a threat that goes directly to the White House, they don't consider it a joke. And all of a sudden, there were Secret Service guys and police and everything showing up at his school. And as you can imagine, it wasn't a happy day for him, and I'm sure it was a less happy day when he got home with his parents.
Mrs. Churchman, thank you for taking the time to sit down with us today. I think we've all learned a lot about being safe online. Thank you for what you need to do to help kids stay safe.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It was a great time. I really had a good time today.